Hello everyone! We are Data Visualization Team 1 from the University of Texas at Dallas. Aditi, Alicia, Kai, Rome, Siddhi. And we are here to present our analysis on the electricity energy source contribution to pollution and revenue in the United States. The time frame for our analysis is from 1990 to 2015. Electricity generation and consumption contributes massively to pollution, namely carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and sulfur dioxide. SO2 is the deadliest of the three, and we can see the leading 20 pollutant-emitting states here. The industrial hubs, Texas and Ohio, top the list undoubtedly. Texas emits the highest amounts of the pollutants CO2 and NOx emissions, but still the amount of SO2 is much less than Ohio. This raises the question, why does Ohio lead in SO2 emissions even though Texas causes the most pollution overall? SO2 is the worst pollutant in the lot, and which energy source contributes majorly for this SO2 emissions in Ohio? Well, coal it is. You may assume that natural gas and petroleum may also play a part in SO2 emissions. However, burning coal causes excessive SO2 pollution, and natural gas produces negligible amounts of SO2. Petroleum marginally contributes for it. A lot of coal is used for the generation of electricity, considering it is the leading contributor for SO2 emissions. Let's go ahead and eliminate the other gases from our picture for a better insight. We would also want to know how much do each of these sources cost and their relative per capita price comparisons. Comparing the per capita price of the three energy sources, we realize per capita price of coal is less as compared to natural gas and petroleum. We just established the fact that Texas and Ohio were our leading polluting states, which implies they ought to be generating more electricity and hence should be earning the most revenue as well. Let's go ahead and compare the revenue of different states in the United States with respect to electricity generation and consumption. The top 5 revenue generating states are California, Texas, New York, Florida, and Pennsylvania. Interestingly, the total revenue of California is highest even though Texas and Ohio are the leading pollutant-emitting states. Why is California producing higher revenue with much less pollution? Well, the reason for this anomaly is because California uses natural gas primarily for its electricity generation and not coal. California uses a negligible amount of coal for its electricity generation. The pollution caused by natural gas is much less as compared to coal, and the pollution in California is much less as compared to Texas and Ohio. Also, natural gas is responsible for generating the highest revenue among all the energy sources, and petroleum comes a close second. One might assume that California, Texas, New York, and Florida would also be the highest per capita revenue generating states. But this is not the case. We see a different picture when we consider the per capita revenue instead of the total revenue generated by the different states. This graph is focusing on the top 5 per capita revenue generating states, which are Washington, Ohio, Nevada, Delaware, and Montana. Even though natural gas and petroleum generate the most revenue, we can see that the usage of coal for energy production is as much as or more than natural gas and petroleum for these states in every sector. Why is that? This is where all the puzzles fit together. We see the biggest chunk of energy sources, coal, natural gas, petroleum, and other gases, as compared based on the top electricity generating states and the top revenue generating states. The total customers of the top revenue generating states is higher than the customers in the top per capita revenue generating states. Let's look at the top 3 revenue generating states: California, Texas, and New York. Even though they are the highest electricity generating states, the per capita income is almost negligible. Also, it should be noted that the revenue is highly generated from the residential sector. This is because the residential sector has more consumers as compared to the industrial and the commercial sectors. The residential customer segment has a greater pool of customers. Any increase in price would be spread across a larger customer base. Now let's have a look at the top 3 per capita revenue generating states: Washington, Ohio, and Nevada. There are less customers in the industrial and the commercial sectors, but they are the most revenue generating sectors. The reason for this is that the per capita price paid by the industrial or the commercial sectors is much higher than that of the residential sector. Coal is the primary energy source used by these states. The pool of customers is much smaller and costs are spread across a lower number of customers, making them pay a larger per capita price. Because of this, these sectors demand the use of cheaper energy sources like coal. Hence, the high per capita revenue for these states. It should be noted that Ohio is generating electricity mostly using coal in the industrial and the commercial sectors. These sectors would prefer to pay a lower per capita price, which ultimately leads to high pollution. Ohio uses coal much more than Washington and Nevada, and a relatively much higher use of coal leads to much higher SO2 emissions and total pollution. In conclusion, the relation of pollution and cost is inverse. The lower the cost of the energy sources, the greater the pollution. Also, expensive energy sources brings more revenue, but the industrial and the commercial sectors do not wish to pay the higher prices. Natural gas and petroleum produces highest revenue and much less pollution as compared to coal. Coal, on the other hand, costs less as compared to natural gas and petroleum, which explains why the industrial and commercial sectors, who have to pay high per capita price, insist on using coal for energy generation.